Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Oscar Cisneros with Grease Monkey Mobile Mechanic, and today we're working on a 2007 Toyota Corolla with a 1.8 liter engine. And let me show you how we're going to diagnose this vehicle, and let's just dive into this together and see what type of conclusion we can reach using some simple tools, with the exception of the scan tool. However, if this is a car that you have, I can show you how you can diagnose certain aspects of it using these strategies. So check this out. So the first thing that we're going to do, which I kind of already did, and I'm using this computer, but you can use a small handheld. And I'm going to go back to our main screen, and we're going to pull diagnostic trouble codes. And what we're going to pull here is we're going to pull our codes, and we're going to see what type of issues is going on within this engine here. So as this is communicating with the ECU computer, it's going to pull all that information up. We're going to check our current codes, and there it is. We have a P0171 fuel system 2 lean bank 1. So just to kind of, in less than 30 seconds, your engine's a big vacuum cleaner and it sucks in air. And at the same time, the computer has to mix certain amounts of fuel with the incoming air. We call that stoichiometric. On a gasoline engine, it's 14.7 pounds of air and 1 pound of fuel in each cylinder during the combustion cycle. So if there is, and then after that combustion takes place, as it makes its way out through the exhaust, there technically should just be carbon dioxide. It should just be a clean exhaust mixture with no contaminants. Now, if the oxygen content is too high, then the computer is saying, hey, wait a minute, after this combustion event's taken place, we still have oxygen left over, which means that perhaps there's a mixture issue. So then this is our mass airflow sensor. He lives right behind the air box here. So as the air is rushing in, it measures how much air and it calculates how much fuel will be dumped into this engine here, right? Now, if there's a leak after the sensor here, or one of these hoses is busted, that's unmetered air making its way in, causing an imbalance with the mixture. Fortunately for this vehicle, there's a technical bulletin that Toyota had issued out. It said that during sub-zero or freezing temperatures, that there is a known issue with the intake manifold gaskets on this. So what they want you to do is, on a cold start, they want you to verify it and see if there is indeed an actual leak. So being that in San Diego it's been very, very cold lately, it's very possible that this concern might fall under that technical bulletin. Now, what the diagnostic procedure wants us to do is it wants us to go down to our data stream so that we can look at what the computer's doing. So we go to our data display. And again, this is something that you can do with the typical handheld or basic handheld OBD2 computer, as long as you have access to live data. It really helps to see what's going on, what the computer's looking at in real time. So we're going to have our custom list, since we already took a look at this concern quite a minute ago, and we're going to see what the computer's doing. So we have our short-term numbers and our long-term. Now it's 91 degrees. I kind of had it warmed up for this test, or I did the test already, but I want to be able to duplicate it for you. Short-term fuel trims are adjustments that the computer makes in real time for an issue that is present. Long-term fuel trims, it makes these adjustments or these compensations over a period of time. Let's just say that the vehicle's 10 years old, the fuel injectors are supposed to, and what we have to do is we have to figure out why it's making those adjustments. So that bulletin is actually nice because it's pointing us in a direction that's pretty obvious. It's saying, hey, check the intake manifold. The intake manifold is known for leaking. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a rich mixture using something as simple as brake cleaner. So we're going to use the brake cleaner, and we're going to spray along the top of the intake manifold while we're watching our short-term numbers. Now, ideally, what are we supposed to look at in this situation? Short-term numbers, ideally you want them plus or minus 5. Ideally you want it around 0. Same thing with long-term, but again, it usually doesn't become a problem with long-term unless it turns into, let's say, a plus 20 or a plus 25. So I'm going to start the vehicle up, and you're going to see that it's going to pretty much hover around 0 here. Let's go ahead and do that now. So now we got the car running. This puppy's running, and we can see that we're pretty much at about negative 3.92, 4, 5. kind of stable. It's still pretty high for what it is, but nothing dramatic has happened as of yet. Let's go ahead and spray some cleaner here, and let's just see what happens. Not a damn thing happened, did it? Just kidding. It kind of takes a little bit of time for the computer to see, but you can start to see it really come down. So I'm spraying a little bit more of this cleaner here. And actually earlier when the engine was really cold, it spiked all the way up to 20, but you can see it's starting to spike up there, and then it starts to kind of stabilize. So we have an issue with our intake manifold. When it's cold, right, you have these components that are contracting, and as heat is applied to it, it tends to expand. So during the expansion process, it creates a seal, so to say. So it's not as bad. It does have a small leak, but it's not as bad now. So we're at about 6 now. I'm going to spray it. And it seems that it's not leaking as bad anymore. And the bulletin emphasizes that says, hey, when it's cold, when it's freezing, that's when you want to run this test, because after the vehicle's warmed up, it will be pretty difficult to duplicate this concern. So at this point in time, what we're going to be doing is we're going to go ahead and recommend replacing the intake manifold gaskets, get all of that replaced, and then that will bring this car back to operating standards and get it ready for the smog check that it potentially might have coming up. So anyways, if you like this video, like it, please subscribe to it. I wish I could have showed you a little bit more of a dramatic increase when I sprayed the intake manifold on the cold start. It actually had spiked up to about 20. Now it's at about 6.2. And like I said, when I sprayed it, it was real obvious. It just shot all the way up to about 20, 25. So it doesn't seem to do it now. It looks like it's already sealed. And that's what you have to kind of take note of. Another thing that I learned through one of my smog buddies is total fuel trim isn't just whatever is written on the long term, but it's also what's on the short term here as well. So when you add those two numbers to get total fuel trim for one particular bank. So this is a little bit more of a technical video. It's a very low-tech way of doing it. So if you have an issue with it kind of running rough, you have a lean condition on a Toyota Corolla, and this is true for even a Ford or any other vehicle, you can get a can of brake cleaner. If you got a basic generic OBD2 scan tool with some live data, you can spray around intake valleys, and you'll see an increase or a decrease in trim numbers. So that's a real advantage. That's kind of the low-tech way of doing it as well. If you had a smoke machine, you could do it with a little bit more of a fine-tuned piece of equipment, but a lot of people don't have the luxury of spending thousands of dollars for a smoker. So with that being said, thanks for checking the video, guys. Appreciate it. If you like it, hit it a thumbs up. That's how my kids say, hit a thumbs up. And we'll go from there. Thanks for checking it out.